But it was the League of Just Men who wrote the Communist Manifesto, not Karl Marx. Anyway, in A Conspiracy Against God and Man, Reverend Clarence Kelly. Now this particular book was a study of the beginnings and the early history of the great communist movement of the world. Reverend Clarence Kelly. And in the book, he talks about, regarding these same secret and powerful forces, Benjamin Disraeli, the English statesman, gave testimony in the British House of Commons on July 14, 1856. And on that occasion he said, quote, "There is in Italy a power which we seldom mention in this house. I mean the secret societies. It is useless to deny, because it's impossible to conceal, that a great part of Europe and the whole of Italy and France and a great portion of Germany, to say nothing of other countries, is covered with a network of these secret societies, just as the surfaces of the earth are now being covered with railroads." And 20 years later, on September 10, 1876, Benjamin Disraeli was moved to make the following statement, quote, "The governments of the present day have to deal not merely with other governments, with emperors, kings, and ministers, but also with the secret societies which have everywhere their unscrupulous agents and can at the last moment upset all the government's plans." Much of what this historian had to say is enlightening. He cites, for example, the explicit testimony of one who was himself in close touch with the inner circle of this secret society and possessed knowledge of this secret society. He was referring to a doctor who, in April of 1914, wrote in an issue of the French occultist magazine Mystica, under the pseudonym of Papus. This doctor, member of this French occultist society, and wrote in the Mystica magazine, he said, quote, "Side by side with international politics of each state, there exist certain obscure organizations of international politics. These men that take part in these councils are not the professional politicians or the brilliantly dressed ambassadors, but certain unpretentious unknown men, high financiers, who are superior to the vain ephemeral politicians who imagine that they govern the world." Abraham Lincoln made an interesting quote also, and the book is quoting Abraham Lincoln, and he said, quote, "When we see a lot of frame timbers, different positions of which we know to have been gotten out at different times in different places by different workmen, Stephen, Franklin, Roger, and James, for instance, and when we see these timbers joined together and see they exactly make the frame of a house or a mill, or if a single piece be lacking, we see the place and the frame exactly fitted and prepared to yet bring such a piece in. In such a case, we find it impossible not to believe that Stephen, Frank, Roger, and James all understood one another from the beginning, and all worked upon a common plan or draft drawn up before the first lick was struck." So here, Abraham Lincoln is giving the example of how you can see that there is an absolute conspiratorial apparatus being put into place. And he understood that. Now, in the book Secret Societies and Subversive Movements by Nesta Webster, she was the lady that was quoted in the California State Document, if you remember. Her first book was called World Revolution. This is the second book, called Secret Societies and Subversive Movements. In the 12th chapter, The Secret Societies in England, there is an article, a piece in this 12th chapter. It was very interesting. Nesta Webster, interviewed a lady who was a member of a secret society called Stella Matritina. Stella Matritina, a secret society, a quasi-Masonic secret society, I might add, in England, later became known as the Order of the Golden Dawn, with Aleister Crowley at the head of it. But before Crowley, it was called Stella Matritina. And so Nestor Webster is interviewing a lady who was a member of this Stella Matritina. And it says, in the opinion of an initiate who belonged for years to Stella Matritina, the dynamic force employed, known as Kundalini, is simply an electromagnetic force of which the sex force is a part.